There is an interesting speech by Julius Malema that I believe you guys should see. Julius Malema is one of the most charismatic politicians in Africa. He started with the ANC, which is the African National Congress, the Nelson Mandela political party. He left there after a while and started his own political party, the EFF. And he has some very interesting things to say. Let's watch.
Fighters, we are invited to come and speak about good governance and security in Africa. But to be honest, there will never be a discussion about the security and good governance in Africa without acknowledging the damage that has been caused by colonizers and the imperialist forces. Africa's inability to be peace with herself, it is necessitated by the fact that colonialists want to exploit our minerals without being held accountable. It is the colonialists who are corrupting the leadership of Africa and making sure that those who are not corrupt are replaced by the corrupt puppets who will allow colonialism to continue in the African continent. Any battle you can imagine anywhere in the continent, it has got everything else to do with those who colonized us before. Today, they want to choose who are the leaders for African people. As we stand here today, Gaddafi should be an enemy of our people, according to the declaration of the Western imperialism, because Gaddafi stood for our people. Today, Mugabe, who was a darling, if you think Mandela was loved, you must revisit your history and check when Mugabe was becoming the president of Zimbabwe after the defeat of Rhodesia. He was the most celebrated man. He was loved by everybody until he started questioning the issue of the land, that the land must be transferred from the colonizer to the people of Zimbabwe. But when he was not advocating for that, especially after the Lancaster resolution, they thought he's one such a gentleman who will allow them to do as they wish, until he realized that he was going to pass on without transferring the means of production into the hands of our people. Today, every African leader who served for a very long time in Africa, we are told is a fascist, is undemocratic, this person is a dictator. But such words were never said about Queen Elizabeth, who ruled for more than 50 years. And it's not just monarchy, like a Zulu monarchy or Abatembu monarchy. It's a monarchy that has got powers on the political systems of Britain. There is no any prime minister in Britain who can proceed with anything else political without the go-ahead of the Queen, now the King. No one of those prime ministers can declare a war. Only the Queen or the King can declare a war. But that person has never been democratically elected. That person has got no term of office. They serve until the grave, and they are not called fascists and dictators. Gaddafi nationalized the oil industry when he took over Libya. And he made sure that the people of Libya receive free health care and housing. The people of Libya actually used to get a piece of land for getting married. That's why many of you will remain single, because you realize there's going to be a problem here. As a way of appreciating the young ones who are beginning to establish the family unit, Gaddafi used to thank them with a piece of land. Today, Gaddafi is an enemy because he stood against apartheid and associated with all African countries that were fighting against colonialism. Gaddafi is an enemy today because he stood with the people of Palestine. Immediately when Gaddafi died, we saw Africans being taken by force in Libya as slaves, even post-colonial period. After Gaddafi died, Libya, which we're told it was under dictatorship and the most brutal man, has never known peace. It is under the group of warlords, it is under the group of terrorists, under the militia and the people who are forcing themselves into power through a barrel of a gun. Today, one of the most unstable countries is DRC. Lumumba did not serve too long, because when Lumumba came in, they realized that this guy is going to create independence in the DRC, where the most strategic minerals are found. Since the passing of Lumumba till to date, DRC has never known peace. They will never know peace because those who are exploiting the resources of that area are the ones who are sponsoring the rebels in that area. They don't want authorities in DRC because authorities will mean that we must also control the airspace of Libya. And when you control the airspace, you know which plane came in to do what and went out at what time. They are sponsoring rebels, doing land strips in the forests where they land and take the minerals undetected and leave DRC. Today, DRC was supposed to be one of the most richest countries, but the imperialist forces will not allow it to be. So Sankara was killed. And when you think Sankara was killed by his friend, that one was just the one who pulled the trigger. But there are brains behind that man who pulled the trigger, who, by the way, was a friend of Sankara. Burkina Faso would have been one of the most beautiful countries in Africa had Sankara lived long. The man who said to his people, here is the land, you must produce for the government and produce for yourself. Sankara who loved education. Sankara who gave our people health care. Sankara who knew that there will never be total liberation of people if women are not liberated themselves. Sankara who knew that a political activist must be equipped with theory of politics, because a soldier with a gun without political theory is a potential criminal. That's why political education is always important. Sankara who said, I'm not going to be part of borrowing money from IMF and the World Bank. So these leaders, I'm singling some of them out because I want to demonstrate to you that those who seeked good for us did not stay long. If you come to South Africa, Chris Sani's crime was not because he killed anyone, was not because he was mobilizing anyone. Chris was just speaking his mind. Not because he went to mobilize the people of Alexandra, not because he went to mobilize the people of Eastern Cape against what the negotiations was talking about. He just said, this is not what we went into the bush for. If we are going to take it through a barrel of a pen and we don't fight, then you must know we'll never realize that which we went to the bush for. And they realized that this man cannot be persuaded, not even by money. And they did not waste time. They finished him off. Because when we were negotiating for our democracy and thinking it's a peaceful transition from resistance to democracy, we actually found our leaders negotiating deals